Hello and welcome to this edition of The Interview. I'm Robert Parsons in Paris. And usually tonight we have three guests, all of whom were received earlier today by French President Nicolas Sarkozy. All three are relatives of Israeli soldiers seized last year. Noam Shalit, the father of Gilad Shalit, who was captured by the Palestinian militant organization Hamas near Gaza just over a year ago. Karnit Goldwasser, the wife of Ehud Goldwasser, who was captured by the Lebanese Shiite Hezbollah in July last year on the Israeli-Lebanese border. And Benny Regev, the brother of Eldad Regev, who was seized in the same incident. First of all, I'd like to start with Noam Shalit, who, like his son, has dual French and Israeli citizenship. Thanks for being on The Interview. How important to you is the support of the French government? What do you feel that they can do for you?
Well, every support that we can get, it's important for us, you know, because, well, the Israeli government seems to crawl a little bit, as we've seen of the last year that passed. Have just passed nearby and without any results of the negotiations. So we can use every support that we can get.
Was Mr. Sarkozy able to give you any encouragement at all?
Yes, in a way, he declared that he sees he consider Gilad, my son, as a French. It's a French by all means, so it seems to be a new wind in the Elysee, a new air in the coming from the Elysee.
Did he make any suggestion that progress was being made, that the French had been in touch with Hamas, for instance?
Well, I wouldn't go into details, but basically he said that he is handling this issue, this crisis, as I said, as is that concern in French person, and of course he is he raised and handled this issue in all relevant channels and discuss this issue with every relevant person that he meet.
The French Foreign Minister Bernard Kouchner said just over a week ago that he was in favour of an exchange of prisoners, presumably of Hamas prisoners. In exchange for, obviously, for your son Gilad. Is that something that you would favour as well?
Well, Israel government is also in favour of the exchange deal as well. Israel government is willing now to release some hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in exchange of my son.
But they're Fatah prisoners rather than Hamas prisoners?
No, not necessarily. The Fatah prisoners was discussed on the, now lately by the declaration of Prime Minister Olmert regarding a release of 250 prisoners in behalf of President Abbas. Regardless, the exchange deal that was agreed upon, the frame of this exchange deal was agreed upon with the Hamas via the Egyptians mediators.
Judging by what you were saying earlier on, you clearly believe that the Israeli government is to some extent culpable for the predicament of your son as well. What would you like the French government to do to put pressure on the Israeli government to act?
Well, I believe that France is a major player in our region, and as as a superpower, as one of the leaders of the EU and the quartet. So even though France doesn't have direct relations with the Hamas people, she is capable to do all kind of other things and other channels that she can use in this matter.
Okay, Noam Shalit, thank you very much for being on the interview. I'd like now to move on to our next guest, Karnit Goldwasser, the wife of Ehud Goldwasser, whose capture by Hezbollah last July sparked the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Thanks very much for being on the programme. Mrs. Goldwasser, it's now over a year since your husband and Eldad Regev were seized by Hezbollah. Still no news of either of them. The strain must be absolutely enormous. How do you cope with that?
You're right. It's almost a year that I'm going to sleep alone and wake up alone every morning. It's a year that no one is telling me good morning. This is the living in the dark for a year. It's very hard to cope with this, but whenever I'm down, I'm looking at his picture, I can see his smile, and I want his smile back. And sometimes I even call Tomer. Tomer is the soldier that was sitting next to Eldad, his colleague, my husband's colleague, and he was severely injured, but he's here in France with us, going with us, and this is the proof that they are alive and sitting somewhere by Nasrallah's hand and waiting for us to do it, to bring them back home.
And you've heard absolutely nothing at all?
No. Nothing, it's no letter, no news. No one from the Red Cross till today went and visit them. Nothing at all. Living in the dark for a year.
But are you sure that he's alive?
I can't be sure, but I know that my husband, I know that Israel assumed that he might be injured while he was kidnapped, but I'm sure that my husband was driving in Israel territory. I'm sure that he was alive when he was driving in that jeep, but I need the fact. I need someone to go and encourage him and to tell him that everything is going to be all right and he will be back home soon.
What's your message to the people who are holding him?
The one that holds him is Nasrallah. And I know and I can hear what Nasrallah has said and promised to his country and to his people. And he said that he will bring back the Lebanese prisoners. But I can't see Nasrallah doing more than just saying. So I am saying to Nasrallah, speak less, do more. Start to do negotiation and start to say what you want regarding to a sign of life and regarding to the return of Eldad and Udi. And start to do it. Start to bring them back. Start to bring the Lebanese prisoner that you promised to the mothers and to the fathers that you're going to bring them back home.
What role do you think, since you're here in Paris, that the French government can play in securing his release?
First of all, the French government can speak to people that us, the Israelis, and me, the family, can't speak. And this is why we ask them to raise their voice. We know that a Lebanese delegation is going to come to France, and some of them are going to be Hezbollah, politician Hezbollah. And we ask them to start to convince Nasrallah to end this conflict for his people, for his country. And also to speak to Nabih Berri, the head of the parliament. And he's the head of the parliament of Lebanon, and he's in close relation with Nasrallah. And we want him to interfere in this conflict and to start to help us to end it.
Karnit Goldwasser, thanks very much for being on the interview. I'd like to welcome now Benny Regev, the brother of Eldad. Welcome to the programme. You've been meeting with French President Nicolas Sarkozy today. What was the message that you came away with from that meeting?
France as a state make a lot of effort to get a resolution 1701 at the UN. I think that France must do the same effort to implement the resolution, to make it a reality. Right now, my brother, for the last year, is staying in the prison. We don't know anything about him, anything at all. I think that that kind of situation cannot be accepted, not only by Israel, but only for the whole world must not accept this.
Are you satisfied in your own mind that the French government is being tough enough on Hezbollah that it clearly is identifying it as a terrorist organization?
I'm not sure. They are calling here in France and in other world that saying that the Hezbollah is not a terror organization. I think that we cannot see them as an-terror organization until they will give us at least a sign of life.
What indications did you get from your meeting with President Sarkozy today? Did you get the feeling that he clearly identifies Hezbollah as a terrorist organization?
He mentioned that he said before that the Hezbollah is a terror organization. I think it's right. I think the situation right now, the act of terror is not only the kidnap. It's also keeping the soldiers in their hands and not saying a single word. If they are alive, what is the treatment that they are getting, not allowing the Red Cross to visit them. And also about Gilad Shalit, is kept by the hands of the Hamas. The same situation, the Red Cross is not allowed to see any one of them. This is a terror act.
The capture of your brother and of Eldad Goldwasser had enormous consequences last year, led to the invasion of southern Lebanon by the Israeli armed forces. In retrospect, do you think that the capture of the two was sufficient reason to justify the start of the war in southern Lebanon?
The kidnap was not the only reason why Israel started the war. The Hezbollah fired rockets all on the south of Israel for a long time. At that day, the day of the kidnap, he rocket also. He injured civilians that are not relative to the kidnap action. He killed another soldiers that came to rescue the patrol that Eldad was in. All the acts forced Israel to start the war. In looking back and seeing the results of the war, from the point of the kidnapped soldiers, it was not worth. They are still in prison. But I think and I think that it was shown by the resolution 1701 of the UN that the whole world is accepting the fact that there is a terror organization that's trying to kill Israelis and trying to hurt Israel in any way it can. And it's not acceptable, not only by Israel, not only by France that we are here now, but on the whole world. There must be quiet at the border, there must be peace, and there won't be until the Israeli soldiers will come back home.
That's all we have time for tonight. Noam Shalit, Karnit Goldwasser, and Benny Regev, thanks very much for being on the interview. Bonsoir.